Let me ask you something, Hasbro. Do I look like a clown to you? Am I wearing big shoes and a funny hat? We just got a G1 inspired Arcee with the Kingdom toy line last year, and you think just because you made a shiny new version of her I'll be rushing to give you my money? You think you can make a fool out of me? 'Cause you can. Alright, look, I can't help it. I love Arcee. And I guess this tidal wave of toys for her is only fair, seeing as how not only was she absent from the Transformers toy line for way too long, but she was deliberately excluded from the toy line for several years by sexist businessmen. It's times like these we need to remember that the first ever toy for G1 Arcee looked like this. What do you mean? This looks exactly like Arcee. This isn't just some unrelated Black Arachnia toy painted pink. What drugs are you on? But it seems as though that through the movie-centered line of the studio series, an attempt was made at finally capturing a definitive toy version of the 80s Arcee we all know and love. So come along and sink yourself in some pink with Studio Series 86 Arcee. Beginning with the bot mode, some viewers may notice this is a heavy remold of the thrilling 30 Arcee released in 2014. This time, however, a greater emphasis was placed on screen accuracy. Arcee has a super iconic and recognizable color scheme, and while this does the job, the certain selection of color somewhat leaves me conflicted. On one hand, I thoroughly appreciate that extra attention was given to the light pink, almost white areas like the upper arms and the face. I was a tad disappointed with how the Earthrise figure left those parts unpainted in white, so this registers as looking much better. However, I wish they could have painted the chest hood grill vent thing. And as a superficial girl, I find myself more drawn to the Earthrise toys' more vibrant pink than the Studio Series' less saturated style. I tried looking it up to see which color is more faithful to the animation, but a ton of the Google results was just horny fan art. Based on what I could find though, it seems like the precise hue of pink changes depending on which image you're looking at. So I guess neither is truly incorrect or inaccurate, but I slightly wish they could have cranked up the vibrance just a touch. With that said, I'm likely only noticing this because we have such a recent figure to compare it with, so please feel free to dismiss everything I've said. The sculpting throughout looks fairly fabulous, focusing on capturing the proportions of her character design, and I personally think they crushed it. Everything about this looks so appropriate to the character. It's great how they managed to fit an Autobot logo on her chest, unlike the Thrilling 30 toy for some reason. And the head sculpt looks rather striking as well. It's very faithful with her round helmet and Leia-inspired robo buttons. It captures her likeness wonderfully. And I kind of appreciate how they finally got her stomach area right, which feels perfectly normal to say. But the Thrilling 30 toy made me somewhat uncomfortable with how human-like her ab area turned out. And it looks even weirder with her frigging belly button on full display. But the Studio Series, with its larger ambitions for screen accuracy, provides her with a more screen-inspired cornered-off robo-like waist. She still has a robot belly button though. And the legs may not seem like much at first. They are pretty basic in that they have no alt mode parts nor a wide array of colors. They're essentially just white tights with pink knees and gray socks. But that is how she appeared in the film, and that's what this is going for, so fair enough. However, what the legs lack in paint, they more than make up for with articulation and solidity. The posability is pretty wild with just about all the essential joints, including a thigh swivel and a pretty substantial kicking and knee bending, not to mention the up and down and ankle pivot at the feet. At first I assumed her legs were just lifted from the Earthrise mold, but nope. As far as I'm aware, this is completely original sculpting, so I recognize the extra effort put in. All around, the articulation is adamantly astounding. I think the only thing she's missing out on are wrist swivels, but it's hard to be mad when everywhere else can display dapperly, dabbing around like an acrobat on the cusp of insanity. You can even give her an ab crunch, which on Transformers toys is a sight as rare as watching a person eat soup while running at full speed. All the joints on this figure feel real tight and solid. They're easily movable, but they're staying in place no problem. The whole figure is just so solid. Or it almost is. Unfortunately, this toy has exactly one legitimate problem with its robot mode, and that's how the torso doesn't seem to plug in together. I'm not even sure if it's supposed to. It's not exactly loose, it's not just unfastening at every opportunity, but it is the opposite of ideal. I suppose we can talk about the backpack now, and honestly, I'm fine with it. Look, it's a G1 Arcee toy. Are we going for movie accuracy or not? She had a backpack in the film, she's gonna have one here. Boo-hoo, life goes on. At least it's pretty streamlined and folds together satisfyingly, and the toughness of the leg joints keep it from being too top heavy. I'd be perfectly fine if future versions of the character completely redesign her from the ground up so as to not necessitate a backpack, but from where I'm sitting, this is how 80s Arcee looks, and the figure pulls it off the best that it possibly can in my opinion. I always thought her back things sticking out of her shoulders were hella cool, and while they're presented here, they have these holes punched through them so that way you can do this. I'm good. And getting to the blaster, it's cast in a gray plastic that is very reminiscent of the one she used in the climax of the film where they're all inside Unicron. And despite having sculpted open hands, she can hold onto it rather well. All in all, this is an impressive robot mode that does just about everything right, in that it looks like Arcee, poses well, and doesn't let her mandatory backpack define her. I personally think this is as good of a deluxe G1 Arcee we can get. I guess you could say that Arcee is fine by me. The transformation is super satisfying. For being a retool of the Thrilling 30 toy of the same character, I'm surprised by how different it comes across. Unpacking the backpack can be a bit strange at first, but after a few tries I've become used to it by now. It is another Arcee toy where 90% of the alt mode comes from the backpack where the robot parts just tuck away, but it still manages to feel like a proper transformation where enough thought went into how the pieces land into place, and it utilizes a ton of clearance for the undersection. Which takes us to this sleek, cool space cruiser. And yeah, much like the robot mode, this car presents us with a rather dazzling depiction of Arcee's alt mode. Looking at this next to the animation model, there's very little to complain about. It nails the look almost flawlessly, possibly making this the best generation's version of this particular car. Now I still like Earthrise Arcee's car mode, but comparing the two, I think the new one comes out on top. Mainly by having extra definition in the tire oval fender things, as well as the figure literally raising the roof in the trunk section. I also much prefer how this figure handles her wheels and that they are clearly visible. It makes her look more like the proper car that she was, rather than a hovercraft. My only issue with this alt mode lies in the rather prominent gaps on display. You can just about see her robot shoulders peeking through it, and I just wish they were filled, especially because the gaps don't do anything. And while the doors are a bit too small for my taste, I respect that they are at least painted. And she's wearing a pink fin in the back, which matches the character design closer than the previous Arcee toy. And look at this is insane. She actually has a back section with room for turn signal lights. I think that might be unprecedented for an Arcee toy to have a good back section, or any back section. In keeping with the minute sculpting, she also has sculpted in seats and some dashboard detailing in the front. The gun can be stored in the underside, or at least it should be, however it doesn't seem to peg in very securely. I'm really feeling the smooth, curvy design philosophy that went into this, like it's a car suitable for both chill cruises and speed racing. The sleekness meshes well with the height too. This isn't a very tall car mode, making it look super aerodynamic and fast. And it's just a very well done space speedster. As a depiction of Arcee, it hits just right and serves an ultra satisfying figure. One last thing I want to get into is the box. I don't usually talk about the packaging because this isn't a box review channel, but oh my god, this artwork is awesome. She looks so badass and confident, I honestly want this image on my wall. I feel like all the Generations toy packaging has such beautiful artwork, and I wanted to give a bit of love and celebration to them. The back of the box includes some information on the toy, and a single sentence about her role in the film. When the Decepticons launch their attack, Arcee converts Autobot City. Yeah, that's right. Converts Autobot City. Not transforms, converts. Oh, and let's not forget... Maßstab-Detail und Quality inspired dirty film scene! And that is Studio Series 86 Arcee. For what this is, I think it's a pretty superb figure. It has two great modes, a logical transformation, fantastic posability, and most importantly, incredible fun factor. I have no idea what the general consensus of this toy is, whether people are steamed that this is a Thrilling 30 retool and that it came so close after the Earthrise version, or if they're ecstatic that this is a more fulfilling and methodical conversion unlike the Earthrise toy. But you know, forget the general consensus, I think it's pretty great. And frankly, that's all that matters to me. I wouldn't mind seeing this mold again as Nightbird, possibly with a Mercenary Faction logo. It'd be a real missed opportunity if they didn't end up doing that. So yeah, I think this is definitely my favorite of the G1 RC toys. I don't have them all, but however good the rest of them are, I don't know how much better they could be. She's good, she's pink, she's free, she's RC.